Good morning. One of these rings is worth about $1,500. One's worth about $10,000. They look very similar, though, don't they? This week on Behind the Gavel with Jason. I'm Jason Roski, the owner of the KC Auction Company here in Kansas City, Missouri. And this week we are going to be talking about how little differences in similar objects can make big differences in the values of those objects. I'm just going to share this on my page real quick. Share. Right, post. All right. So we get emails, calls all the time wanting to sell things and look at things and give people an idea of what things are worth. And sometimes people have things, well, it looks just like X, Y, or Z. And so we have to go through and look at the items on a piece-by-piece basis and tell them why one is worth more than the other. And today we're going to be talking about these two rings and about a Coca-Cola calendar that we have in an auction coming up. So we just signed a fantastic contract this morning on a collection of estate jewelry, everything from Native American squash blossom necklaces to like 8-carat emeralds and 20-carat aquamarines and really, really exciting stuff. And in that collection are these two rings that look quite similar. This one is tanzanite and diamonds. It's 18-karat white gold, and this one's sapphires and diamonds and 14-karat yellow gold. So right there, that little difference, 14-karat to 18-karat, is a huge indicator of value change. 14-karat and 18-karat, there's a difference of about 25% in just the value, right? 18-karat is 75% pure. 14-karat is about 58% pure. So there's a 13% difference in value just in the weight of the gold. So an ounce of the 18-karat is worth 12% more than an ounce of the 14-karat. So there's some value difference there, which just in and of itself can be hundreds of dollars of difference, but we're talking about thousands of dollars of difference. The gold ring, the 18-karat ring has a tanzanite in it, which is a stone a lot of people know about, but don't necessarily give a lot of credence to. This ring, the 14-karat, has a sapphire in it. Well, everybody knows what sapphires are, and generally speaking, they're very valuable. And it's a 1.6 carat stone, I believe, 1.6, 1.8 carat. This is, I believe, a 4-carat tanzanite. So the stone's bigger, that helps. But so what else is different? There's diamonds on both, but what's really interesting is the quality of the diamonds, the quality of the stones are different. And you can't really tell that in the pictures here on my camera, but you can see, try to play with that. It's more of a channel set and just has more sparkle than the sapphire ring there, which is all prong set. Both very nice looking rings, but the appraisals came back on these much, much different. Like the tanzanite ring, insurance replacement value is about $10,000. Insurance replacement on the sapphire ring is about $1,600, $1,700. So they look different, of course, but not drastically different. But this one is worth about 7 times what this one is. So it's really minor differences. 18-karat gold compared to 14-karat gold. The size of the stones and the quality of the stones is a big thing, and that's why you'll see, you'll see auction houses selling a 1-carat diamond ring for $8,000 and another 1-carat diamond ring selling for $1,000. It's because of the quality of the stone, and those are things that you can rarely tell with the naked eye how good or bad a stone is. And so you want to make sure if you're looking at buying jewelry or you're looking to sell jewelry from an estate, take it to a jeweler. Most jewelers will look at an object and give you an idea, does it warrant having an appraisal? Is it a legitimate stone? Is the quality decent or not? They may not give you the entirety of the information just over the counter, but most jewelers will appraise a ring for $75 to $100, and it's so worth it if you're thinking about buying or selling. Thanks for watching, Tamith. Anybody else watch? If you have questions, comments, or thoughts, go ahead and post them here. Hey, Dan, how are you doing? Big Dan out of Dakota. You guys thawed out up there? I know you've had some pretty nasty, chilly weather up there. My folks in Minnesota were telling me about that the other day, how brutally cold it was up there. But when you're looking at buying or selling jewelry, having a professional jeweler or gemologist, jewelry appraiser look at them is so important, because most people, if they were selling their parents' stuff and they had these 2 rings, they wouldn't price them that drastically different if they didn't do the due diligence to find out what exactly, what's the quality of the stones. And so at auction, this one's probably going to bring, $500 to $1,000, $700 to $1,000. It's a nice looking ring. It's a sapphire. This was probably going to bring $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000. Huge difference in value. I mean, it's thousands of dollars value difference, and yet in the jewelry box, they wouldn't look that different. And so you want to make sure that you have that information when you're selling. The other thing I'll show you is we're working on an estate that has some really interesting Coca-Cola advertising pieces in it. And the father, who passed a few years ago, was a pretty well-known collector and spent a lot of time collecting, and was a member of the Coca-Cola Collectors Club and things like that. And he actually had 2 of these Fisher Boy Coca-Cola calendars. And obviously there's been a reproduced piece. Most Coke pieces have had some reproductions done to them over the years. And so it makes valuing them really challenging. And a lot of you, if you're going through a house, if you're going through your grandparents' house or your parents' house, you don't know if they bought it, if they got it in the 1930s or 40s when it was published, they picked it up along the way, or they bought it as a memento of the time, or they just liked it. And so you may or may not know if it's a legitimate Coca-Cola calendar or not. So we're going to kind of show you some of the things that we looked at on these specifically. And I want to start with the staples first off. So the pads are stapled to the paper, right? I'll show you this one here. You can see these staples right along the top there. And this one has 4 staples. And on the back, you can see that the staples actually have a long, they almost touch where they fold over the paper. That's a really small, minor thing. Let me show you this one, though. This calendar only has 3 staples, and you can see on the back that they barely go all the way through the paper, right? And so that was, honestly, that was the very first thing that I looked at and noticed, is that doesn't seem quite right, because if you're a calendar production company, you want that to be more secure. You want that to have that longer length to make the pad more secure to the back panel. See, they're 2 separate pieces, right? The other thing I noticed is that these are actually like rounded along the back. So they, whereas on this other calendar, they're flat. They're perfectly flat against the back of the paper. The other thing I noticed on this one is every month says serve Coca-Cola ice cold. Top, bottom, wherever it had room on the calendar. Didn't matter if it was February or if it was July. On this calendar, and it has the cover sheet, which is nice, so it's dead stock. It's out fishing. But let's see, in January it says just drink Coca-Cola, refresh yourself, drink Coca-Cola. Here in this October, at work or at play, hey Marlon, how you doing? In February, keep fit for what's ahead, drink Coca-Cola. So the slogans on each month are different. The other things that I looked at is the quality of the paper. You can see on the back of this, it has just some aging to it. It has some discoloration from age, whereas the other one doesn't. And so those are the big things. There's a few other little things you can tell when you're touching it. The texture of the paper feels different, and just the look of it. The color's a little bit different. The whole thing is just, when you're seeing them side by side, you can absolutely see differences. And so what's the difference in value on those, right? Coca-Cola collectibles have gone up and down. There's always people who like them who are kind of in a low spot for a lot of the objects. The Fishing Boy at one time was probably a $300 or $400, maybe even a $500 calendar. Right now, they're selling regularly in this condition. This is really an excellent to near mint condition. There's a couple of creases that you saw, but it's really, really tight. It's complete. Having that front out fishing makes a big difference. So, this calendar with this front piece and being an original Coke calendar is going to be $100 to $150, probably close to the $150 mark because it has this sheet of paper on top. If it didn't have that out fishing, if it just had the 1934 December to 35 January, it's probably $75 to $100. Whereas the reproduction, which looks very similar, it looks hanging on a wall in a house, you would expect it to be an old one, but it's not. Honestly, it's going to be worth $10 or $15. And I'm really happy to have them both to use them as a teaching tool here. And when people come in to look at the original calendar in person, and I can talk about those differences in person for those who are interested in buying it and tell them this is why we're sure, and this is why the people I trust are sure that this is an original calendar as opposed to a reproduction calendar, which going forward, as the cycles change and as tastes change, the calendar might go up or down, but an original in that condition is always going to be at the higher end of the value spectrum for that calendar. So those are just some of the couple of real, definitive things to look at today about how little differences can make a big difference in value. We're talking, 6-7 times the value in rings that look very similar, and 10 to 15 times difference in value for calendars that, for all intents and purposes, hanging on the wall would look identical. But it's in those details, the staples, the paper quality, the different text, the different, those little things that don't show up right away. But when you start to look at it, you see and realize, well, that is an original, that is worth more money, that has more value today and in the future because of those reasons. So thank you all so much for watching. It's been a crazy weather week here in Kansas City. We got down to -5 here in Kansas City. I know my mom and dad up in Minnesota got down to like -35 the other night. Dan's up in North Dakota. I think they hit, it got down to about -40 or 50. Just crazy, crazy weather. And it's supposed to be about 60 here this weekend. So it's going to be a great weekend, but we have snow forecast again next week. So weather's always changing, which is a good thing. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or concerns, go ahead and post them here. If you have any questions about selling or buying, or about items in particular, you have questions that you want us to answer here on the weekly Behind the Gavel, be happy to look at those. You can always send us a direct message if you want to make it public or make it private here through the Facebook page. Drop us an email at info@kcauctioncompany.com. Info@letter K, letter C, auction company spelled out.com. Or you can give us a phone call at 816-283-3633. We'll be happy to answer any and all questions about the antique industry, the auction world, art world. We live this stuff, breathe it, love it. And I'm always excited to talk about these things with folks. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a great weekend. We have an interesting art auction closing Monday night. We have our next antique and consignment auction going online next week that has the Coca-Cola in it. And then the estate jewelry auction, which those two rings are a part of, will be the next auction after that. And that will be in just about a month. And we're really excited about that. Best collection of jewelry that we've ever been granted the opportunity to sell. So excited to do that. Again, thank you all so much. Have a great Friday, and we'll talk to you soon.